This is a video, probably second in a series that I've done when I'm going to start calling my totally unnecessary tool upgrade videos. You might have remembered I just did one a while ago on adding a VFD to a drill press. Totally unnecessary, but very cool. And this probably ranks in about the same category. Ever since 1997, I've had this Makita LS1013 sliding compound miter saw, and it's a fantastic miter saw. I've used it for many projects. Hardwood flooring is what I originally bought it to do, and it's what I actually think gave me the woodworking bug. I hadn't done any woodwork until I bought this saw to do our floor, and I was so impressed with this tool that I just got the tool buying bug, and as time went on, I ended up accumulating quite an assortment of various tools. So got the bug in a big way, but this machine right here is to blame for the start of it. But anyway, I always thought I'd like to have a radial arm saw, not some cheap, ragged, rickety, old Sears Craftsman or anything, but a real industrial type radial arm saw, one of the old DeWalt's or one of the old turret style Rockwell or Deltas. So got this one off classifieds. This is a DeWalt Model 3511, and based on the serial number, it was built in 1979. And it's got a 3 horsepower motor right there, 14-inch blade. The blade that came on this machine is made by a company in Ontario called DeWalt, and it's an industrial, they don't sell retail, so it's an industrial tool supplier. Great blade by any stretch, and this one cuts really good. This height is adjusted by this knob back here, and the swing of the arm for miter cuts is unlocked here and tightened there. A couple of detents, one for 90 and 45 degrees each way. I'm probably never going to cut miters with this thing. I've fine-tuned this saw to cut square to a very fine degree, and for cutting miters, I can still very quickly do a quick cut here on my old Makita. I don't cut miters that often. Big ones, like for picture frames for something, I might use my sliding table on my table saw, or I may just make a jig for this thing, or cut them on the Makita. So this thing is mainly geared for cross cutting. It can cross cut 16 inches, although where I've got the fence set up, I've set it up for sort of a maximum cutting height to be able to cut off a 4x4, so I've limited the cutting crosscut capability to 14 inches, which is 14 1/4 or something like that, so plenty. To get this thing square is no easy task. I think that's one of the reasons that radial arm saws are not all that popular. Is a lot of people don't understand that you basically got to square this thing up in three different planes. Now to square up this saw, you got, what a lot of people don't realize is you got to do it in 3 dimensions. I mean, it's got to be square, side to side to the blade. The plane of the table has to be parallel to the travel of the saw carriage, because if it's not, it'll cut deeper on one end than the other. Not a problem if you're cross-cutting, but a big problem if you're trying to cut dados. The blade has to be straight and aligned with the direction of travel, otherwise it'll heel. In other words, the blade will go through the wood slightly sideways, gives you a rough cut, and can run the risk of kickback. And the table's got to be tuned to be the same height all the way around. So there's jacking bolts and everything under the table to make you do that, or to allow you to do that, I should say. I built the table in 2 pieces of 3/4 inch MDF with a sacrificial hardboard top. So as it gets cut up or chewed up over time, it can be replaced. So held in place with brass screws. The fence is wedged in place by these softwood wedges here. So if you want to, some radial arm saws have a cranking system to clamp from the back. This just uses some simple wedges. It's pretty effective. It's kind of a crude way to do it, but it works. It's the fence nice and tight. You knock the wedges out, take your fence out, put in your dado fence, or a new fence if you want, and line it up, tap your wedges back in. I put a self-adhesive tape both on this extension wing that I've built and on the main table, and it's fine-tuned that to be exactly bang on. So again, the beauty of this thing over a sliding compound miter saw is a slightly wider crosscut and the ability to cut dados. But there's another thing about this that really is the main reason for wanting to have this thing. It's just there's something just nicer about cross-cutting on this thing. It's just so powerful and so effortless to do cross-cuts that it's just more pleasurable to use than a sliding compound miter saw. You know, I'll do a test cut here. This is a piece of 8/4 maple. And you know, the last time I tried to cut it on the sliding compound miter saw, I kind of had to chew my way through it. Pretty sharp blade, but you know, it would burn and bind, and you know, it was a chore to get it through there. I mean, it'll do the job, but not like this thing. So what I'll do is I'll start the dust collector, and this thing does a pretty good job of collecting the dust. I built this little box here to catch most of the dust that flies at the back. It's pretty good. Just what you're just going to see the sort of the effortless ease of this saw to cut this 8/4 maple. Now I cut that way too fast. The saw will have a tendency to self-feed. There's a certain technique to control the feed rate of the saw, and I'll do another cut in sort of a more normal cross-cut speed here to show you the difference. But you saw how that thing just flew through this maple. Basically had kind of hold it back. It was so effortless. You couldn't even already feel that the wood was there. Absolutely no burning whatsoever. I mean, it's just, for how fast I cut it, it's a surprisingly smooth cut. Now, that's an illustration of the power of this thing. What I'll do now is do something that I consider more of a normal crosscut. Show you what a normal feed rate would be like. Cut is pretty smooth. A little bit of burning. I kind of paused a little bit there, but nothing like it was on the sliding compound miter saw. It's an effortless cut, and it's just such a pleasure to use. A lot of people think no brake on this one. It's pretty old, so it's before they started making them with the brakes on them. I don't mind it because when I finish the cut, the saw is parked back here, blade's hidden out of the way. There's really no danger there per se. Like I say, a lot of people think these things are really dangerous. I think they're only dangerous if you try to rip with them. So if you pulled this thing out, you know, unlocked it, rotated the head, tried to rip with it, because of the way the saw cuts, it has a tendency to kick back. And all Radial Arm saws, if you don't know what you're doing, they're very dangerous to rip with. I'm never going to rip with this thing. I've got a perfectly good cabinet saw for that. This is here solely for cross-cutting and dado cuts. I'll probably never cut a miter or bevel with it. Like I said, I'll use my Makita for that. But for cross-cutting material to length, precision, 90-degree cross-cuts, and for dado cutting, can't beat it. This thing is so smooth. I mean, this saw weighs 500 pounds. It's 190 pounds heavier than my saw stop. And it runs on 8, the carriage here runs on 8 1-inch bearings. And it's really heavy. I'd say, I had this off when I unloaded the saw to remove this carriage. I'd say this assembly here probably weighs, I don't know, a little over 100 pounds. And it rides on these bearings like glass smooth. And this saw is in immaculate shape, came out of the school. And all the ways and everything the bearings are on are silky smooth. It's like things just came out of the factory. Incredible saw. Can't say this is an upgrade that would appeal to everybody. But I got to say, since putting it in my shop, it's a real pleasure to use. And the thing that is not really apparent is that this doesn't take up any more room than what my sliding compound miter saw used to take up. when this, my miter saw has got the rods extended on the back and the full crosscut and everything, and with the room for the dust collection and behind it stuck out about the same distance. It's actually a more usable space now because I can have storage underneath and another work surface that I can have for laydown area or even some simple assembly or whatever, right? So it's a more useful space than what I had before. So anybody thinking about getting one of these things, by all means, you know, they're accurate, they're repeatable, they're powerful. There's just something about it that is just a lot more pleasant to use than struggling along on any tool with a universal motor. Anytime you start using a powerful induction motor versus something that's got a universal motor like a slider, then you know the difference. It's like using a direct drive table saw versus a cabinet saw. That's the only way I can compare it. Anyway, hope somebody found this video at least entertaining.